Hello, good morning. So, what was the last point in previous class? So, throughout the life cycle, in previous class, we had discussed violence, right? Violence against women. You have to give insight, and such insight should come in introduction itself. After defining what is violence against women, you should discuss, to reflect the gravity, right, of the problem. This perpetuates throughout the life cycle, isn't it? To reflect comprehensiveness in your understanding, you should think in terms of violence throughout the life cycle. You may add more points, isn't it? Like I have given the basics based on your readings of editorials, isn't it? You can add more point, and in main body you can refer to more examples, isn't it? Let's say in India, incest violence is increasing because of hyper reality created by social media, right? Portals, web portals, porn portals, those creates hyper reality, and that is also cause of violence. Particularly incest violence is increasing because of hyper reality. Hyper real is something which is not real. That is hyper real. That is not structural, right? Like in structures we had norms, we had values and norms which prohibits sexual relationship between close relatives. But hyper reality created by web portals, that causes violence against women, right? Okay, so more such examples like NCRB ka report and all, which you read, that you can refer. ठीक है ना? Now the factors, you can say factors and perspective, violence against women. So please let us brainstorm. Please think in conceptual units. You should always try to express your thought in some conceptual unit, right? In some factual unit. I say Hayward and random thinking should not be there, right? Major problem with the students is random thinking, isn't it? So that you have to minimize. ठीक है ना? Okay, so what will you think? First line of thought क्या होगा? First line of thought. What factors? Tell me. Please brainstorm. 5 minutes के लिए brainstorm कीजिए please. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Factors, perspective, violence against women. Reflect on your readings, your observations. Okay, so what you thought? क्या सोचा आपने? जैसे you told patriarchal society, ठीक है? Society, yes. Dowry system, ठीक है? और? हाँ?
Customs and traditions.
Tradition, yes.
Caste-based dominations.
Domestication of women. Domestication of women, ठीक है?
Educationally had the proposed.
What you told? Caste-based?
Caste-based occupation.
Caste-based
Technique for laborers and
occupation, ठीक है?
weak enforcement of laws.
हाँ?
Weak enforcement of laws.
Yes, yes. Weak
Laws like
So
adultery.
violence at workplace.
and small enforcement, ठीक है ना? Violence at workplace is a form of violence, right? Form of violence. When we are analyzing cause, this is description and analysis. Description of the causes and analysis of the causes, right? In
Laws like adultery which objectify women.
ठीक है.
Commodification of women.
Adultery, commodification of women, ठीक है?
The lack of financial independence.
Commodification, right? ठीक है. Financial
Independence.
lack, yes.
So at the international level, there is no treaty or law protecting women.
No, there are,
So lack of
there are,
representation in political
right? Huh?
So lack of representation in political
Yes, lack of representation, ठीक है?
So lack of infrastructure.
Representation, which infrastructure?
So like projects and all separate courses for women in training.
Okay. All women as well. Lack of
So early
women,
marriage.
women as well. Yes, ठीक है? Early marriage,
The education.
lack of education, right? ठीक है?
Lack of sensitization among law enforcement agencies.
Education, yes. This is also, there are examples of this. Like-
Property rights.
Yes. Property rights are there but not enforced, right? Lack of property rights, ठीक है?
Lack of awareness about the rights.
हाँ?
Lack of awareness about the rights.
Yes, this is also legal rights में, ठीक है ना? ठीक है?
Security.
Law awareness is weak, right? ठीक है? So ठीक है, these are the broad points, ठीक है ना? What you do in main body while writing, describe the sectors, ठीक है ना? And then within that analyze properly. Like here in analysis, you have to do specifications, right? जैसे socio-cultural, many of you, like rightly referred many socio-cultural factors, ठीक है ना? Customs, rituals and all, ठीक है? So the one major cause, जैसे आपने कहा कि lack of awareness, right? Lack of property rights, ठीक है ना? Like domestication of women, particularly this domestication of women, right? Patriarchal society. Absolute term we cannot say Indian society is patriarchal society, but yes, like we have now constitutional society, right? We have constitutional rationality, right? Not patriarchal rationality, not patri rationality. Patriarchal rationality has been replaced by constitutional rationalities, right? Legal rationality, laws are there, right? Our behavior very much influenced by written rules and laws, right? बट यस अपने यहाँ प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि सोशियो कल्चर फैक्टर में जेंडर बेस्ड socialization and what happens, through gender based socialization, inequalities, discriminations, isn't it, right? And even the perpetuation of inequality and discrimination, in fact acceptance of violence, isn't it, inculcated in the families itself. Getting your point? So one important factor which we refer is gender based socialization. फिर इसके एनालिसिस मतलब इसको एक्सप्लेन करने में आप लिखेंगे बिकॉज ऑफ जेंडर बेस्ड सोशलाइजेशन inequality, discriminations perpetuates, isn't it, like violence latently accepted, right? आपने कहा ना कि lack of awareness, even if awareness is there about इनहेरिटेंस राइट, जिसने भी ग्रेजुएशन किया है या फिर दोज हु आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर सिविल सर्विस एग्जामिनेशन, दे हैव अवेयरनेस, both men and women have awareness actually about inheritance right, कि now there are equal inheritance right not only in fixed property of the parents but also earned property of the parents, right? जो भी parents earn करते हैं उसमें भी equal right is there, right? But because of gender based socialization, like these are not implemented, right? आप में से कितना लोग will you ask inheritance right, inheritance, have you been socialized for demanding inheritance rights? No. So that is gender based socialization. Getting your point? Two different spheres में. So एक analytical point यहाँ लिखेंगे, उसमें फिर accommodate करेंगे domestication of women and all, isn't it? Okay, further next point, cultural definition of socio-cultural definition of appropriate sex roles. Socio-cultural definition of appropriate sex roles. Women का roles and men का roles, right? Appropriately defined in our society. Women's role, men's role, appropriately defined in our society, right? And what happens, like because of this appropriation through socialization, right? And performance of roles, instrumental role by men, it is defined that men will perform instrumental role, breadwinner. Women will perform expressive role, caring, cooking, etc. Now democratic government, isn't it, facilitates for equal role performance. कि women also can play instrumental role, can earn. Women are working in public sphere, isn't it, right? But what happens, this is considered as inappropriate, or women are doubly burdened, right? Double role performance. Public sphere में they work also and they have to take care of family too, isn't it? And in double role performance, at times conflict takes place between instrumental role and expressive roles, isn't it? And that conflict results into violence against women. Getting your point, right? जैसे fasting on करवा चौथ है, fasting on करवा चौथ, that is expressive role, that is appropriate expressive role for the good life, for long life of husband, isn't it? But if woman is working in bureaucracy, if woman is working in multinational corporation, is it possible for her to fast? And this is not a gazetted festival also. एक gazetted festival भी नहीं है, socio-cultural festival है, isn't it? So at times conflict takes place, ठीक है ना? और ऐसा नहीं है कि conflict urban settlements में we see cases ठीक है, women refused to fast on Karwa Chauth, husband and family members tried to kill her, right? Fasting was forced on her, isn't it? She refused because she had to attend important meeting, right? This was the news actually of Delhi का न्यूज़ था, ठीक है ना? दिल्ली में द्वारका रीजन में जहाँ मिडिल क्लास के लोग रहते हैं, हायर मिडिल क्लास के लोग रहते हैं, देयर ऑल्सो यू नो सच, ठीक है ना? तो दिस इज, और फैमिली के अंदर व्हाट यू सी, कस्टम एंड ट्रेडिशन, यस कस्टम, गुड पॉइंट. कस्टम एंड ट्रेडिशन उसमें आप डिफाइन करेंगे कि लाइक इन इंडियन कस्टम एंड ट्रेडिशंस यू नो मेल्स there is you know belief in inherent superiority of male. There is belief in Indian custom and tradition, there is belief in inherent superiority of male, right? And the Indian custom, अच्छा पॉइंट बोला, कस्टम ट्रेडिशन में बहुत कुछ लिख सकते हैं आप, लेकिन थीसिस नहीं लिखना है इस पे आपको पॉइंट लिखने हैं, कुछ लॉन्ग थीसिस नहीं लिखना है. लाइक दिस इज like Indian culture and tradition, Indian cultural values gives proprietary right of men over women, a right to men over women, proprietary. Indian customs, traditions, values give men proprietary right over women and girls. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? कस्टम ट्रेडिशन को एक्सप्लेन करेंगे ना, तो यू विल एक्सप्लेन विथ सम स्पेसिफिकेशन, राइट? सो इन आवर कस्टम एंड ट्रेडिशंस men are given proprietary right over girl and women. Before marriage, father's right, proprietary right, you know, right? Father's guidance. And after marriage, husband's proprietary right. कन्यादान का जो ट्रेडिशन है तो वही फादर ट्रांसफर करते हैं ना, राइट ट्रांसफर करते हैं, isn't it? Right? In our culture and tradition. आप में से कितने लोगों को राइट लेना है, या इंडिपेंडेंट मानना है, फ्री मानना है? हाँ? Are you sensitized? Are you sensitized to avoid this? हाँ? सिलेक्शन के बाद पूछूंगा आपसे मैं. Right. I was also sensitized, but I had to follow that marriage. Though I bribed the Brahman who was felicitating my marriage, he finished everything in hours, right? So, but there are customs, you know, tradition, established custom and traditions, right? Of transferring, you know, proprietary rights, right? Belief in inherent superiority of men, isn't it? And these results, you know, like in domination. इसका result क्या होता है? Domination of men over women, right? Men get justification from the custom and traditions, right? They have, you know, right to dominate over women, right? So this is. Next, maybe you can refer the notion of family as private sphere. There is social cultural notion in our society, family being private sphere and outside control of the state. Family being private sphere and outside control of the state. ठीक है ना? This is private sphere of the family. This is private sphere of like caste. This is private sphere of religion. Here you can refer the examples. You can refer Sahabano case also, isn't it? When Supreme Court intervened and has provided right, but that was denied by the state because the state believed the family is private sphere of, right? In that case, private sphere of religion, isn't it? That is for the private sphere, not only of religion, like family is private sphere and outside domain of a state. That's why, you know, like though laws are there, Inheritance Act is there, right? Cannot government sensitize people? Cannot government make it mandatory by law? Cannot government ensure implementation of this act? कर सकता है ना, गवर्नमेंट तो एक्ट को इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकता है ना, राइट? Cannot government can have constraint on dowry? पुट कांस्टेंट ऑन डॉरी, गवर्नमेंट कर सकता है ना, डॉरी के ऊपर कांस्टेंट डाल सकता है ना. आपको नहीं लगता अगर इफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन गवर्नमेंट थिंक टू प्रोहिबिट दिस सोशल लेवल दे कैन, राइट? लेकिन जहां पे प्राइम मिनिस्टर से लेके सारे मिनिस्टर, चीफ मिनिस्टर, दे आर पार्टी इन एक्स्ट्रावैगेंट मैरिजेज, राइट? तो फिर यू कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट एंड दिस रिफ्लेक्ट्स कि स्टेट कंसिडर्स फैमिली एज प्राइवेट स्फेयर, isn't it?
So in Shah Banu case, it was decided to pay the compensation to her by her husband. No? So then state denied. So I just wanted to know.
हाँ यस राजीव का उसी के बाद तो इंडिया का पॉलिटिकल एक सिनेरियो चेंज होता है. राजीव गांधी जी पास्ड एक्ट रिफ्यूटिंग सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स ऑर्डर, राइट? सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर को उन्होंने रिफ्यूट किया, रिजेक्ट किया, अंडर प्रेशर ऑफ रिलीजियस गुरुज, राइट? एंड लेटर ऑन लाइक, and this is not the case of Muslims only, Hindus also, right? When you talk of uniform civil code, ठीक है ना, गवर्नमेंट खासकर पिछले 5-6 साल में, 7 साल में बहुत सारे ऐसे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन which were put on back burner actually to accommodate the diversity at the time of independence, right? And those provisions like Kashmir or special status to Kashmir or this uniform civil code. So like uniform civil code has been attached with minorities, particularly one community, Muslim community, right? Ki Muslims also should follow the law, the board, Muslim personal law board, those laws should not be like as a debate discussion. Lekin here question comes, Hindu women, do you think that all Hindu women, right, get equal rights, right, and are benefited by uniform civil code? There are uniform civil codes. Equality है ना, equality of opportunity, education, freedom, justice, liberty, right? So all Hindu women equally inherit property, marital rights, right, their educational rights, their political, cultural rights, nahi, right? So problem here is not of the community, getting your point. Problem here is illiteracy, problem here is lack of education, lack of skill, getting your point, lack of participation, lack of awareness, irrespective of communities, right? Getting your point or not? There was a question asked by UPSC, problems in implementation of uniform civil code. Maximum बच्चों ने जो popular perception है वो लिख कर आ गए, right? कि religion is the biggest problem. Some religions do not believe in uniform civil code, right? Guided by personal laws, isn't it? लेकिन problem is not that only, right? Religion may be one factor. There are other factors too. Getting your point or not, right? So similarly, like this notion of the family as private sphere under male's control, private sphere and other under male's control, male's authority. This is socio-cultural notion which is still continuing in our society, and this is one factor, right, for violence against women, right? Yes.
Sir, also there is this indoctrination that from childhood to the girl child that they are somehow inferior to men, and that continues throughout their life cycle. That is why they do, even in spite of getting all these rights, like there are examples of people, women, in spite of living in abject poverty, they don't demand the property rights from family because they consider it is social evil. Or they do not feel that is their right.
That is what I told, na, gender specific socialization. Gender specific socialization. Women are socialized to be domesticated. Women are socialized to perform expressive roles. Women are socialized not to ask for inheritance right, isn't it? Getting your point. And all opposites are for the men, right? Yes.
So can we say social conformity?
Hi, yes. Your optional psychology. Your optional. No. Okay. Social conformity. Yes, that is also the factor, right? Because of socialization, women conform. Getting your point. तो एक यूज कर सकते हैं ये भी टर्म कि डिस्पाइट डेली डेली डिनायल ऑफ राइट्स, डेली latent violences, women conform, isn't it, to the obligations, isn't it? So yes, that is social conformity actually.
Even if the father wanted
हाँ, he has to conform to, yes, खाप्स का conformity, isn't it, religion का conformity and all, yes, okay.
So a father is considered to be the legal guardian of children, like no rights provided to women in that sphere also.
No, father, there's no problem, father legal
Legal guardian, like
legal guardian, yes, हाँ ठीक है, so what is point?
So I think so like there also women are denied the right kind of a thing, like always there are battles regarding this and father's rights versus.
No, as he told na कि father has to conform to the society, to the custom, social conformity also play a role here, isn't it? Like he has to conform to religion, caste, kinship, isn't it? His gotra groups, isn't it? Right. Okay, other factor you can count, जैसे आप में से कहा आपने customs of child marriage or early marriage, custom preferences for child marriage, early marriage, right? Other which you have mentioned, practice of dowry, right? Dowry का practice also you can refer, right? That is also one socio-cultural. Like this is economic dimension also, but socio-cultural, that is also. ठीक है. एक और है, like in our society there is violence is accepted a form, a means to resolve conflict. Acceptance of violence to resolve conflict, right? That is also continuing, right? If some role conflict takes place, so family indulges in violence against women. Any deviation from the established values and norms results into violence, isn't it? For like if women prefers to marriage outside caste, isn't it? तो उधर क्या देखते हैं? Subjected to violence, because violence is considered as a means to resolve the deviation, isn't it? The conflict, getting a point, arising out of deviation, right? So this is also, don't you think this is accepted? Many regular offenders, wife batterers, those who are indulged in wife beating, regular offenders, right? They were interviewed by, in Satya Jatiya program also, Amir Khan ji had interviewed many such offenders and they accepted that this is the way, right? This is, they referred Manu Smriti, right? Manu Smriti ka one punch line, getting a point. So accepted as what? They accepted it as a norm. The deviation should be corrected through violence, right? So that is also considered one factor. ठीक है.
So to dominate the female, use dominance to control the female. Physical dominance.
Yes, domination. वो हमने count किया, domination, right? Domination. ठीक है. Think on this line. More points you can think based on your observation of the local, right? You belong to different states, isn't it? Different regions of India. So you can refer more points based on like this is customs tradition. You can give more examples. Yes, denial of right to women. That is also but latent, right? Indirect case. ठीक है ना? But yes, like the practice of female genital mutilations and all among Bohra communities and many such local practices, socio-cultural. Those are embedded in customs, traditions, isn't it? Right, results into violence against women, right? Aspect of violence against women, ठीक है ना? That is also one factor is like social mobility. You understand? Anthro वाला socio वाला समझते हैं कि social mobility, isn't it? तो mobility का rate among women is very low, isn't it? Because of lack of appropriate choices, chances, life chances, like education, like employment, isn't it? Lack of appropriate movement from one age, like farmer son become doctor. This is called mobility, movement in status, change in status. So women के case में the change in status is very low or slow, isn't it? That because of lack of life chances like education, skill, training, employment, isn't it? These are called life chances, जो life को chance देता है move करने का, mobile होने का, isn't it? Right. So this point also you can refer. In this line think of और point आप सोच सकते हैं, ठीक है ना? Yes.
In socio-cultural, can we write this notion that in a family, a woman, a girl child is considered as a burden?
Hmm.
And Hindi is saying right now कि लड़की तो पराया धन होती है, something like that.
Hmm.
Can we write these?
Such statements you can use, right, in justifying, you know. ठीक है, but ठीक है, इतना points में आपका 100 words आ जाएगा explain करने में ना, ठीक है ना. और भी as I told you कि in this line, you know, you please think, but you will do some specification, some standardization, so he could directly understand your point, right? You are not supposed to be talkative there, garrulous there, talkative there in essay paper, right? आपको बहुत क्या होना है, analytic आपका अच्छा होना चाहिए, specified होना चाहिए, that's it, right? Okay. Next is economic factor, right? Economic factors. So आप में से अच्छा पॉइंट बोला आपने, एक इकोनॉमिक डिपेंडेंस ऑफ वुमेन ऑन मेन. इकोनॉमिक डिपेंडेंस ऑफ वुमेन ऑन मेन. जैसे इसको ऐसे भी अपन लिख सकते हैं, जैसे आपने बोला कि लैक ऑफ फाइनेंशियल इंडिपेंडेंस, ठीक है, लैक ऑफ, तो मेजॉरिटी ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स विल राइट लैक ऑफ, राइट. सो यू शुड थिंक, यू नो, सम बेटर स्टैंडर्डाइज, यू नो, स्टेटमेंट, हेडिंग, सब हेडिंग देने के लिए, right? So better you can say economic dependence of women on men, ठीक है. And you can explain this कि economic dependence,
Through labor force participation.
economic dependence, like once women become economically dependent on men, right, then decision making is compromised, lack of, you know, choices, lack of life chances, isn't it? Like everything, like all socio-cultural factors somewhere, you know, rooted in, right, in economic dependence on men, isn't it? And economic dependence on men, along with this, you know, limited access to cash and credit, limited access to cash and credit, because our society had been patriarchal society, and patriarchal society में cash owned, controlled by men, right? Second, एक मैंने point इसमें बोला कि lack of access to credit also, ठीक है. Credit, what is the basis of, you know, credit in our society? जैसे banking system में banks credit किस basis पे देता है? हाँ, हालांकि अभी like there are provisions, Jandhan and all, ठीक है ना, but that is just, you know, opening account, isn't it? Credit is still, you know, like denied to women because of collateral, isn't it? Collateral, ठीक है, क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा, वोट वाला क्रेडिट, राइट, 50,000. वोट लेने के लिए कितना का क्रेडिट देना होता है गवर्नमेंट्स को, कितना है इसमें? 3 लेयर्स है ना, 3 लेयर्स, हाँ, और तरुण. तो ज़्यादा जो लोन है वो फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड वाले में है, ठीक है ना, क्योंकि ज़्यादा वोट इन्हीं का है, ठीक है. खैर एनीवेज इस पॉइंट को नहीं लिखेंगे यहाँ. मेरा पॉइंट ये है लाइक कि वुमेन बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स ट्रेडिशनली डिनाइड, यू नो, प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स, एंड प्रॉपर्टी इज इंपॉर्टेंट, यू नो, कोलैटरल फॉर टेकिंग क्रेडिट फॉर बिजनेस, ट्रेड, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, isn't it? So women को तो प्रॉपर्टी राइट ही नहीं मिला, isn't it, in our society, right? They were denied property rights traditionally, and that still continues, isn't it? Even if they have a skill, they have knowledge, they cannot take credit for entrepreneurial activities, right? हालांकि things are changing now, अभी changes हो रहा है. आप बहुत सारे फैक्ट पढ़ते होंगे इंडिया बुक में, इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में, you will refer in suggestion वाला thing while writing reverse thesis, but problem still persists, right? जैसे majority of, you know, Dalit women, tribal women, isn't it? Like minority women, for example, Jain community, prosperous community, rich business community, isn't it? But we will see women's participation in this community, in business, trade, commerce, in politics, right, is very low, right? Because women are denied, you know, rights. Getting a point or not? Like prosperous है, Jain International Trade Organization is there, isn't it? But because of that socio-religious factor, women are denied. Women are highly domesticated in Jains, right? In Jain community, not only Muslims, Jain also, right? So this is one factor. This factor also will write. ठीक है ना? Third, you can think of discriminatory laws regarding inheritance. Discriminatory laws regarding inheritance, property rights, maintenance after divorce, etc. This also weakens women economically. Right. Limited access to employment in formal sector. Limited access to employment in formal sector. Organized sector. Large number of women today working in unorganized sector, right, which is not covered under protective laws, isn't it? And they are subjected to violence, right? They are subjected to violence. Like women working in construction, on construction sites with lack of facilities. आप भी यहाँ दिल्ली में देखते होंगे इस एरिया में, सराउंडिंग में, तो gender sensitive facilities are not there. Women are working, isn't it? Right. So in such unorganized work organization, women's safety, security is compromised. They are subjected to multiple forms of violence, right? Their bargaining capacity is also low. Bargaining capacity because of lack of fixed wages in this sector, right? Floating wages in this sector, right? So this is. और एक फैक्टर क्या कह सकते हैं इकोनॉमिक स्फीयर में, और कुछ फैक्टर्स हाँ यस दैट इज यस कह सकते हैं, इसके एनालिटिक्स में बोल सकते हैं. ठीक है हाँ रिवर्स थीसिस में रिवर्स थीसिस में लेट अस फर्स्ट ब्रेनस्टॉर्म ओवर दिस, राइट? So these are
So the laws are also sometimes they are taken advantage of to deny women their rights in employment. So for example, there was this 26-week wages for maternity leave. So sir, due to that, most of the companies don't hire women because they know that if they hire them, then 26 weeks are gone. In case maternity leave.
This is also one point, right? This is dysfunction of that. This is functional for government sector work, but many studies suggest that this has become dysfunctional for women working in unorganized, right, or partially organized sectors. ठीक है ना? Even corporations also denying women's right, maternity rights, right? Okay, और points इसमें लिख सकते हैं ना, some general point apart from the analysis which we done, like depending on the topic, like scope of the topic. जैसे inequality in wages, wage inequality is there. That is also economic factor, right? Women's wage considered as supplement to the household, isn't it? Women are not considered as main wage earners. ठीक है ना? Further, occupational segregation is also there. Right? Women's work are segregated, isn't it? Mostly service sector, service economy, isn't it? The expressive works, expressive jobs, right? Yesterday, like कल मैं रात में लौटा, I was out of a station, so flight was delayed for 1 hour, so I reached here at 1, and Saturday morning 5:30 पे मैं गया था, तो I saw all air hostess in that flight 5:30 day for yesterday, and yesterday like last flight था मेरा उधर से, तो the same air hostesses, so I asked your duty is 5 to 1, 1:30 or 2 AM के ऊपर flight है पहुँचती, तो yes sir, until we complete there is no fixed hour, मतलब 5 in the morning, so for that they have to get ready at least 3:30, and night 2, ऑलमोस्ट कितना आवर्स का होगा जॉब 18-19 आवर्स का जॉब राइट सो लाइक this is expressive roles and in such sectors there is violation of women's right isn't it ठीक है और भी कह सकते हैं जैसे ग्लास सीलिंग है ग्लास सीलिंग का फैक्टर इज देयर राइट ग्लास सीलिंग क्या होता है व्हाट इज दिस ग्लास सीलिंग there is invisible barrier in organized sector too right in government sector for example अभी तो थोड़ा change हो रहा है otherwise like women not transferred in key positions right home secretary or defense secretary right key positions ठीक है ना there are certain key positions actually in bureaucracy right या फिर dropout of women from corporations in mid 30s and 40s isn't it corporators believe that like multinational corporations say dropout rate is very high particularly IT sector say dropout rate is very high isn't it like there is general belief ki economic productivity of women declines after 40s because they have to take care of family children's isn't it right so that glass ceiling also restricts women life chances choices ठीक है so these economic factors will count right then political sphere में आप लोगों ने भी कुछ points brainstorm किए political sphere में there is good point that is lack of representation right or better say under representation of women in different spheres of politics for example in parliament state assemblies etc अच्छा एक सेक्टर हमारे यहाँ ऐसा है लाइक पंचायती राज सेक्टर वुमेन आर रिप्रेजेंटेड बट दिस इज अ टर्म एक्चुअली देयर इज अ टर्म राइट सरपंच पति पंचायत surrogate representation right surrogate representation like men take decisions on behalf of women are represented but they do not take decisions are taken by men getting your point right sarpanch pati or these concepts you can refer right in our society domestic violence इसको कैसे can we write like domestic violence not taken seriously or violence against women at domestic sphere not taken now guidelines are there Visakha guideline is there and many guidelines are there like protective provisions are there for the workplaces isn't it workplaces domestic violence act is there but because of women's dependence on men because of women's dependence on men they are not benefited by such protective act they do not yes
Because it is a compoundable offense, so women themselves take the complaint back.
and many times women themselves they can look like to file case or to pursue the case isn't it of violence women need resources finances right they lack that isn't so they fail to pursue right so like domestic violence cases may the acts the provisions have failed to protect women isn't it and that has resulted into perpetuation of that patriarchal dominance violence against women right this also
Social stigma
Like-
against divorce.
huh?
Social stigma against divorce. So women women continue.
That you can write in this yes socio-cultural factor may this will be one point this may be one point social stigma isn't it for divorce right despite facing all incompatibilities subjected to violence women do not prefer for separation right एक इधर पॉलिटिकल फैक्टर में भी अपन लिख सकते हैं नोशन ऑफ फैमिली बीइंग प्राइवेट sphere notion of family being private sphere and beyond control of the state देयर इज पॉपुलर नोशन, देखिए लॉज अपनी जगह है कि देयर आर प्रोटेक्टिव लॉज फॉर फैमिली, मैरिज, इजंट इट, बट पॉपुलर नोशन इज कि फैमिली इज प्राइवेट स्फीयर अंडर मेल कंट्रोल, family is private sphere under male control, and such notions actually, right, also the cause of violence against women. जैसे आपने जो बोला ना स्टिग्मा, उसके एक्सप्लेनेशन में यू विल राइट लाइक कि there is a risk to challenge, you know, there is risk to challenge the status quo, right, for women, right, and that risk is not only financial problems but also alienation in the kinship, right, at times, you know, like kinship also does not support women, right, taking the risk of separation or डिवोर्स. बहुत सारे फिल्मों में, सीरियल्स में जो दिखाते हैं वो बेसिकली सोसाइटी का, यू नो, रिफ्लेक्शन इज देयर, राइट, कि वुमेन्स राइट्स वायलेटेड इन द ग्रूम्स फैमिली, इजंट इट? इफ शी वांट्स टू सेपरेट द पेरेंट्स फैमिली, आई मीन द किनशिप, इजंट इट, does not support her, isn't it? Getting your point, right? So there is always a risk of alienation, estrangement, right, in separation, right, in divorce. Getting your point? Challenging the status quo is always risky actually. जो status quo है for women, right, because of lack of, you know, alternative avenues, isn't it? Alternative avenues तो है नहीं women के लिए. जैसे old age homes are there, right? तो if women separates and if they are denied access to their you know, like consanguineous family, जो उनका original family है, right, family of origin, then that leads to alienation and estrangement, right? So that stigma is further, you know, strengthened, right, perpetuates. ठीक है. और political factors में क्या कह सकते हैं?
So trafficking of women because they are vulnerable sections.
वो that will count in सब miscellaneous में, subaltern miscellaneous will count. Political factors में और कुछ point बोल सकते हैं?
So can we write about judicial delay in the
Legal factors we will count separately. Legal, right? Legal factors are there. So these are. एक और point you can, जैसे आपका एक topic है ना, role of women and women's organization, paper 1 में. So what you study there? So, like, do you think if women are politically organized in Indian society? उधर आपको पढ़ना है ना, role of women and women's organization. So, women organization, women's are not politically organized, isn't it? At state level or at pan-India level, they are not a political force because of lack of organization. जैसे आपने देखा होगा कि organization of the subaltern sections of society, right, tribals, organization has started, you know, with Bhagwan Birsa Munda, right? उनके initiative से many movements happened, many leaders are there during. Then Dalits का organization started during British period, right? B.R. Ambedkar and many leaders, you know, like Jyotiba Phule ji and all, right? From there to then other backward caste OBCs organized after independence, 70s, 80s, isn't it? Mandal Commission, positive discrimination. But if you look into historicity on temporal scale, women are not organized. Women are not organized, you know, politico-administrative force in India, isn't it? Right. So their bargaining capacity is very low in politics, right? They are subjected to charity. ठीक है ना? They are subjected to political charity, right? And so, like, there has been lack of, you know, protective laws. अगर representation होगा, then only protective laws will be implemented, will be promulgated and implemented. अगर parliament में representation अच्छा होगा, तो they will make laws, right, for women, and cabinet. If representation is good in cabinet, then that will be implemented, isn't it? So in both spheres we see, in parliament as well as in cabinet, in the state assemblies as well as in state cabinets, women's representation is very low. Getting a point? right? So,
India's feminist policy.
huh?
India's feminist policy is not as strong as like other countries like Sweden. And
Feminist policy, right?
India doesn't condemn like violence against women in different countries.
So like
Yes.
there's lack of gender budgeting and gender sensitized issues.
Like gender budgeting is there, ऐसा नहीं कहेंगे, budgeting is there, isn't it? But that is not sufficient, isn't it, for
So like
like-
basically laws for women are formulated by men, so it's
Mhm.
their perspective. That is reflected in the
but
law.
directly will not deny, you know, UPSC ने एक क्वेश्चन था, UPSC had asked a question whether women's like men should be given representation in women organization or not, isn't it? So it's not like total denial. We cannot say that men should be denied, you know, women's representation in women's organization, isn't it? But yes, like what happens, you know, when there is lack of representation, the women's point of view is not represented, you know, that is not taken care of, isn't it? Okay.
Sir,
Hmm.
emergence of a women vote bank in these days, like political parties are trying to mobilize women like in Bihar on the liquor prohibition basis. In the recent election, the LPG cylinders.
Now it's happening, right? In Bihar, जैसे you referred example, you know, like their
So can women be
Jivika committees, right? Jivika committees are very functional, you know, in reporting on alcoholism, reporting on social evils, right, against dowry, right? Government has organized Jivika committee not only for economic mobilization but also for social, you know, empowerment, right? कि group of women now can protest violence against women. तो अभी ये हो रहा है, ठीक है ना? But yes, this has not happened, you know, on timeline. Representation in parliaments, state assemblies is still very low. Representation has increased in panchayats, self-help groups, isn't it? All women self-help groups are there. Ajivika Samitis are there, but that representation at higher level of, you know, politics and administration is still disproportional, not proportional actually to the population.
Is this term women vote bank still in the maturity or it's building up? Like can women are
It's building up. It's not in maturity, you know, phase. ठीक है ना? Okay.
And can we read number of judges or women judges?
And that also, right, representation in judiciary, ठीक है ना? एक legal factor ही अलग separate we will discuss, you know. So this is done, you know, political is done, ठीक है ना? इसमें कुछ और points if you observe you can mention, ठीक है ना? Next, legal. So first point we will write to analyze lesser legal status of women, either by written laws or by practice. Lesser legal status of women. अब you can relate with socio-cultural, right? Socio-cultural से relate कर लेंगे इसको. Lesser legal status of women either by written laws or practice. Laws regarding divorce, maintenance, inheritance. Laws regarding divorce, maintenance, inheritance are not strong enough to protect women from violence, are not well implemented, not strong enough to protect women from violence. राइट आप में से किसी ने लाइक बोला था जैसे इनसेंसिटिव ट्रीटमेंट, ठीक है, दिस इज ऑल्सो वन फैक्टर, यू नो, इनसेंसिटिव ट्रीटमेंट बाय you can say like police, judiciary at times, insensitive treatment. There had also been problem in legal definition of rape and violence against women. Violence against women. Now, though definition has been broadened after the heinous crime of 2012, right? Many, you know, reforms has happened in laws, changes, right? Lesser legal, you know, literacy and awareness. Lesser legal literacy and awareness. The law provides equal adulthood rights, equality in adulthood rights, but there is socio-cultural discrimination, isn't it? Inequality, sexual inequality, socio-cultural inequality established in sexuality of men and women, related with sexuality of men and women. Like laws provides equal chances, choices, right? Now adulthood laws, govern sexuality. Adulthood laws governs sexuality, and there is equality. There is equality, right? But child marriage, early marriage age, isn't it? Women's right to education denied because of forced pregnancies, isn't it? Getting your point. Marital rapes because of their chances in employment denied, isn't it? Getting your point. So this is also one aspect you can analyze. Other education also will write one dimension, very important dimension, education. Okay, you can refer to data also, data of different states, particularly these poor states, Bimaru states like, नहीं बिमारू नहीं बोलेंगे आज अब हम बीमारू से बाहर आ गए, राइट? हाँ, यस यस.
Sir, in legal sphere, can we say judicial preference to procedure established by our particular?
कह सकते हैं, बट समझना होगा कि वो समझ में आएगा उनको, लिटरेचर को, प्रोफेसर को. बट यस, दिस पॉइंट ऑल्सो यू कैन रेफर, दिस पॉइंट ऑल्सो यू कैन रेफर. ठीक है, हाँ. At times, yes, that is also. There are many examples, right? Particularly we come to know about celebrities ka, like divorce and separation, and there, like I still recall that when Karisma Kapoor, right? She approached for separation, Delhi High Court, asked to take some time, hesitate, and think of reunion, right? For their children's, ठीक है ना? But that could not be materialized, ठीक है ना? So that at times that also, ठीक है. एजुकेशन का फैक्टर लिखेंगे, illiteracy among women, inequality, educational disparity between men and women in a meritocratic society. What is the basis of merit? Our society is meritocratic society, right? In our society today, position, status is achieved on the basis of merit. And what is the basis of merit? Education, isn't it? Right? Modern education, scientific education, skill education, isn't it? Technical education. And in all these spheres of education, there is huge disparity between men and women. Disparity है, ठीक है ना? ठीक है. So this also education का. एक मैंने यहाँ लिखा environment. Look, environmental factors or the factors related with global warming, environment, global warming, climate change, disaster, natural disasters, right? This differently affects women. इस लाइन पे सोच लीजिएगा कि this differently affects women, right, and men. For example, women who are domesticated, right, at the time of earthquakes or like flooding, right, और फाइलिन क्या था ये इधर ओडिशा के अंदर, साइक्लोन, लाइक साइक्लोन क्या नाम था उसका, फाइलिन, right? There was a news report कि like women casualty among women was higher than men, right? एक तो ये factor, and second कि post disaster, right, since women are domesticated, lack of resources, isn't it? Like they have low mitigation capacity, they have low adoption capacity, isn't it? Environment and natural disaster के term में आप यही देखते हैं ना, mitigation and adaptation, isn't it? Mitigation and adaptation, their capacity is low, their mitigation and adaptation capacity is low, right? So at times we see trafficking in women. There are many studies which suggest कि after disaster women का trafficking, like after natural disaster, that earthquake in Nepal or earthquake in Uttarakhand, that flooding in Uttarakhand, trafficking in women increased, trafficking of women increased, right? Getting your point. So that also such natural, like या फिर अभी recently global warming, climate change, drought, right? This water wife का regularly reported in newspapers, water wife. So water wife is basically their choices, their life chances are denied. They are forced into marital relation, into marriage, right, by the families, isn't it, for a single purpose of fetching water. This is enslavement. This is enslavement. Enslavement है, ठीक है ना? A form of slavery है, ठीक है? So this also you can write. इस line पे more facts which you read in newspapers and all you can collect. Environmental. You will analyze कि how environmental factors affects women differently, resulting into violence against women. ठीक है? And next is subaltern. To bring novelty in your essay, please refer, please apply subaltern perspective in such topics, be that women or minorities or, okay, subaltern perspective. So you will analyze, you will think some factors, in one or two sentences, violence against tribal women. The nature and scope of violence against tribal women is different from that of mainstream women, isn't it? Like Dalit women, right? Those who belong to poorer section of society, right? They are exploited. They are doubly exploited actually. एक analysis आपको दे दे रहा हूँ, line of thought इस line पे सोच लिया. They are doubly exploited, right? जैसे Dalit women, tribal women, right? Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, isn't it? Right? Rural areas, right? The women belonging to landless classes, right, or marginal landowning class, isn't it? A smaller landowning class, marginal landowning class, they are doubly exploited. Doubly exploited because they are exploited because of poverty and because of patriarchy. मतलब patriarchy also the factor of exploitation, as well as poverty, the cause of violence, major cause of violence, isn't it? Right. So this also will refer, ये भी refer करेंगे, ठीक है? जैसे minority women, तो women among minority communities, right? Not only because of economic factors, political the factors which we referred, but also because of socio-religious factor, isn't it? As I referred you, कि जैसे Jain women are highly domesticated, right? And there are many religious taboos also, isn't it? Which prohibits their fuller participation in family as well as society, isn't it? Right. Domestication itself is a form of, or is a major source or cause of violence, isn't it? Right. So different communities में, minority communities में you will refer, right? Like some minority communities, अगर आपका understanding उस level पे जाता है, तो जैसे पंजाब के अंदर, right? Sex ratio declined after Green Revolution. There are factors of declining sex ratio related with Green Revolution. राइट, सन प्रेफरेंस आ गया एंड बहुत सारा डेवलपमेंट्स हुआ, तो उसमें लाइक इन दोज रीजन्स वुमेन आर बॉट फ्रॉम अदर रीजन्स, पुअर स्टेट्स, राइट? ट्रैफिकिंग ऑफ वुमेन इज वेरी हाई, राइट? लाइक फ्रॉम नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स, फ्रॉम यूपी, बिहार, फ्रॉम दिस रीजन्स, राइट? एंड दोज वुमेन हु आर बॉट, दे आर रेफर्ड एज मोलकी और पारो, राइट? They are enslaved. Like for the sole purpose of childbirth, women are bought, married legally, but they are denied the rights in households, equal rights in households, because they belong to different social background, different cultural background, different ethnicity, different language, isn't it? So they are not given equal right. These Molkis and Paros are not given equal right. They work as servant. They live as servant, isn't it? And provide services to all the members, right? Paro of the family members, right? So this also, such declining sex ratio, trafficking in women, isn't it? This is a novel point you can write. This was reported in newspaper, right? Okay, so these factors will count. एंड सजेशंस में आफ्टर दैट अगर इतने पॉइंट्स आ गए तो 1 or 2 पैराग्राफ सजेशन रिवर्स थेसिस विथ रेफरेंस ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स, रिवर्स थेसिस विद रेफरेंस ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स इन एवरी सेक्टर. ठीक है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, लॉज, गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स, रिवर्स थेसिस लिख देंगे. ठीक है, ये पॉइंट्स आने चाहिए. Some lighter topics, one brainstorming and discussion session let us do on education. If the topic is restructuring the education system, जैसे education policy आया है, ठीक है, debate discussion is going on, right? अभी चल रहा है ना debate, Geo University also open, right? So debate discussion is going on, ठीक है ना. So ऐसा अगर topic आता है कि restructuring of education is need of the hour, this year you can expect one topic from education, related with education. और ज़्यादा उस पर फैक्ट और वो सब बात नहीं करना है, बहुत ज़्यादा फैक्चुअल नहीं होना है, ब्रॉड analysis is required, right? So please brainstorm for 5 minutes, on temporal scale. Acha, in this topic on temporal scale also you will count the same factors, on temporal scale, briefly referring to in all the topics related to women, refer to the good olden golden days, right, where women used to participate in sabha and samitis, where women were empowered, had choices, isn't it? Then decline during medieval periods, then during British period, right, improvements, and then shift to sectors. ठीक है ना. There also will count the same factors. ये factors उधर भी बात करेंगे. Majorly patriarchy in middle ages and ठीक है. So if topic is restructuring of Indian education system is need of the hour. Restructuring of Indian education system is need of the hour. Right, so यहाँ पे एक मैंने टैग दिया एजुकेशन सिस्टम. नॉट ओनली एजुकेशन, ध्यान रखिएगा, ठीक है ना. Please 5 minutes. Brainstorm for 5 minutes. Strictly 5 minutes. 9:30, 9:25, 9:30 पे I will start. Just 10 points. Writing just 10 points. Brainstorm in 10 points. Okay, so let us discuss the structure of this essay, the points. Okay, so on time scale, in main body, on time scale, what you have thought to write on time scale? Restructuring of Indian education system is need of the hour, because here we can refer. Here we will start strictly on time scale, right? Education continuous phenomena hai, process hai, right? This is not isolated. So what will you think? What will you write on time scale, on temporal scale?
So first of all, we'll start with like education in India in the ancient times. Like sir, it was based on religious education only, and everybody didn't get education. Only the upper caste ones got it. Not everybody.
Upanya Samskara, instead of sacred thread ceremony for education.
So it was more vocational and curriculum based. Example of Nalanda Takshila.
Look, you will refer to the Gurukul system or Nalanda universities or our glorious historicity in education, but with the tag ki in those days also restructuring was needed, isn't it? Because be that ancient Indian, be that medieval India, right, or British period, modern India, education was not accessible to all, isn't it? Getting your point? Restructuring, you were talking about restructuring, right? Restructuring of Indian education system. So restructuring of Indian education system was need of the hour in ancient India too, in medieval India, right? You will write the facts, right? Just say restructuring was needed in the aspect of accessibility, number one, isn't it? Then in the aspect of education system का important part क्या होता है? Curriculum and content, isn't it? So content was mostly religious, transcendental, isn't it? Religious and transcendental, right? So needed during medieval period, this was needed, right? Restructuring was needed, right? And centers of education, mostly centered in religious institutions, right? Large number of population were excluded, right? Those who belong to the lower stratum, those who had no access to religion and religious institutions. So in those days also restructuring of education system, Indian education system was needed. इस line पे you will think कि restructuring of Indian education system was needed in ancient, restructuring of Indian education system was needed in medieval. During British period also this remained limited access, accessible to middle class, not to the lower stratum of society, isn't it? Post independence, you will end up with the post independence, and initial policies on education remained focused on higher education. IITs were opened, IIMs were opened. Like government did not focus on universalization of basic education, right? This was only 2003 Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan that focused on universalization of education with incentives, midday meal schemes, isn't it? Like taking into account the ground realities, the major cause of dropout is deprivation, and basic deprivations the basic deprivation is food, nutrition, isn't it? Right? So government ने उसके साथ क्या किया? Condition लगा दिया. Then conditional cash transfer schemes and all government adopted, Ladli Lakshmi Yojana, Dhan Lakshmi Yojana, many schemes for universalization of education. Then Right to Education Act. यहाँ पे आप temporal scale को finish करेंगे. Right to Education Act 2009, isn't it? वहाँ तक time scale में. With the tag restructuring of Indian education system. Then on sectoral scale, medieval में like educational centers were, temples were centers of education, mosques were centers of education, isn't it? Pathshalas, right? Those were not accessible to all equally, isn't it? Women के लिए नहीं था accessible, isn't it? Because they were located outside, households, isn't it? Right? Yeah, ancient में Gurukul system में, right? People used to go to Gurukulam, right? ठीक है. Centers were also centers for religious education, isn't it? आप unnecessarily glorify नहीं करेंगे कि इंडिया में scientific education था, ठीक है, inventions हुए, right? but those inventions were not utilized, used, applied, isn't it? त्रिपुरा में अगर anybody from त्रिपुरा, so त्रिपुरा का लॉजिक नहीं देंगे वहाँ के चीफ मिनिस्टर का कि महाभारत युग में भी इंटरनेट वॉज देयर, राइट? और ये सब वो उनका रीजनिंग है, बिकॉज उससे वोट मिलता है, आपको नहीं मिलेगा मार्क्स उससे, ठीक है ना? ओके ओके, हाँ.
Since the question is like the need of the art, तो temporal scale में कितना लिखना चाहिए उसमें?
Just 2 paragraphs maximum, 2 paragraphs. You have to give reference, passing reference. अपन ने जितना बात किया passing reference बोला ना, कि in 3 aspects, you know, access to education, content of education, centers of education. These are, you know, important dimensions of education system. ठीक है ना? एजुकेशन सिस्टम के इंपॉर्टेंट डायमेंशंस है, ठीक है ना? तो इसके बेसिस पे वी विल जस्ट, यू नो, 2 पैराग्राफ पासिंग रेफरेंस, एंड देन डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स में करंट एजुकेशन सिस्टम, ठीक है? देन यू कैन राइट वन कोट एक्चुअली, राइट? वन स्टेटमेंट. डू यू रिकॉल अल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन्स स्टेटमेंट्स? अल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन once said, प्लीज लिख लीजिए इसको, एवरीबडी is genius, right? But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. The present Indian education system it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Full stop. The present Indian education system not only does make fish climb trees, but also makes them climb down and run for 10 miles. 100 miles ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. 10 miles. Climb down the tree and run for 10 miles. Right? I mean, refer to some such, you know, statement, or like describe the scenario briefly, and then investigate why restructuring of education system is need of the hour. You will not say that this is going very negative. Here you have to do a good investigation, isn't it? Analysis, what are all problems, isn't it, in different spheres of education. Getting your point, right? So you will start with, you know, and here the essay demands, you know, analysis of Indian education system, not only education. Many of you will start writing value education, ethical education should be given, value education should be given. एजुकेशन सिस्टम की बात है ना, एजुकेशन सिस्टम की बात है, तो एजुकेशन सिस्टम, यू नो, कॉन्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ इट्स स्ट्रक्चर होता है ना एजुकेशन सिस्टम का, राइट? तो स्ट्रक्चर में प्राइमरी एजुकेशन, राइट? सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन, हायर सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन, इजंट इट? हायर एजुकेशन, राइट? आपका कॉम्पिटिटर मैक्सिमम इतना लिखेंगे, ठीक है ना? प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी, हायर सेकेंडरी, राइट? देन higher education, you will write technical education, you will write medical education, technical education, medical education, you will write also research, isn't it? रिसर्च आएंगे, उस पर भी आएंगे. मॉरल सबसे पहले आता है, बिकॉज आप एथिक्स पढ़ते हो, तो बार बार आपके दिमाग में आता है कि पहले यही लिख लो मॉरल. इधर मैंने बोला कि इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम की बात है, ठीक है ना? तो यू विल रेफर टू स्ट्रक्चर्स, राइट? यस, यस, स्किल डेवलपमेंट ऑल्सो, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन स्किल डेवलपमेंट का एक स्फीयर होगा, इजंट इट? बस इतना ही, इतना स्फीयर विल काउंट। हाँ, ये सब लिस्ट करिए प्लीज, ये सब लिस्ट करिए। प्राइमरी एजुकेशन पे यू हैव टू डिस्क्राइब द फैक्ट्स रिलेटेड एंड एनालाइज, यू हैव टू डिस्क्राइब द फैक्ट्स रिलेटेड विद प्राइमरी एजुकेशन एंड एनालाइज, विद सजेशंस, एनालाइज विद सजेशंस, ठीक है ना? सो प्राइमरी एजुकेशन, secondary education, higher secondary education, higher education, then research, isn't it? Research education, technical, medical education system, right? Vocational education system, vocational में आ जाएगा, vocational education में, और very important teachers education, जो list priority है हमारे यहाँ, right? Teachers education, हाँ? Yes, teachers training, that is right. Agriculture, yes, agriculture, right. Education in agriculture, education in agriculture, right. बस इतना। और environmental education, yes, environmental education. One sector of analysis will be in environmental education. That is also need Aadhaar, ठीक है ना? And now government is thinking, implementing, separate course in every, ठीक है? Further education system में like
we talk about the content also, like interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary.
yes. Within these sectors, will count everything. These are the sectors, these are heading, sub-headings actually, in sub-headings में, ठीक है ना? Like a special analysis you will do, right? Like government is now opening tribal universities. Government has opened tribal universities at Amarkantak, isn't it? Many DIM universities has been opened in past 5 years in Odisha, Jharkhand, tribal universities, right? Government के initiative से Amarkantak वाला university was opened, I think in year 2006 or 7, right? And then many government has facilitated, private parties to open DIM universities in Odisha and, right, to promote sportsmanship, physical education, sportsmanship, isn't it? Because the tribals from these regions, they are more suitable, isn't it? Right? Taking up these vocation, sportsmanship as their vocation. Deepika Kumari and many, like have established their milestones at world level, isn't it? Huh? Yes, Hima Das, right. So promotion of sports, education, physical education, trainings, isn't it? Right. So we will refer that also. That is also one aspect of restructuring, कि many more such educational institutions should be opened, isn't it? Right. जैसे क्या होता है कि like different groups, different communities in our society, because of historical, like separations, alienations, have different abilities, different, special abilities, isn't it? Like agriculture education का आपने बात किया, तो agriculture education, the scope of agriculture education is too wide in our society, huge in our society, isn't it? But government did not focus on restructuring of agricultural education. Getting your point? Well, only message dissemination, right, has happened, after 70s तक जितने universities open हुए, उसके बाद rarely universities were opened in, like Maharashtra. Otherwise, in lower Gangetic plains, these problem areas, right, no agriculture university opened in last 20-25 years, ठीक है ना? So the scope is too wide, isn't it? Scope काफी ज़्यादा है उसका, ठीक है? And that will have, cascading effect on increasing agricultural production and as well as productivity. Apart from, providing employment, isn't it, in allied activities and all, ठीक है? So उस एरिया में आप सजेशन देंगे. Agriculture, that is subaltern area actually. Agriculture, tribal, that is subaltern area, isn't it? Like modernization of minority educational institutions, ठीक है? आप ऐसे डिनाई नहीं करेंगे कि मदरसा में ऐसा एजुकेशन देते हैं, मदरसा में वैसा. मदरसाज or other religious institutions have played an incredible role, right, in educating the masses. Where a state, if a state facilities, if a state institutions, the modern educational institutions would have been there parallel to these, then the population would have made preference or choice for such education. लेकिन जहाँ पे educational institutions है ही नहीं, even if educational institutions are there, like there are discrimination है, isn't it, on religious line, caste line पे, isn't it, तो वहाँ पे dropout rate is high, dropout बहुत ज़्यादा है, isn't it, right? So like madrasa education or education through religious institution, by the religious institution, that also can be modernized, isn't it, right, on scientific lines, right, through state intervention, that also can be restructured, getting your point, through resource facilitation and all. ठीक है ना, ऐसा नहीं लिखेंगे कि abolition, because they have role to play, right? Many institutions are run by Nirankari Sabha, right? Nirankari Sabha. Institutions run by Gurukulam by Patanjali cult. Patanjali is also a religious institution, cultist organization, right? Dera Sacha Sauda, Sadguru, right? Satya Sai Trust runs institutions. So these also can be restructured, isn't it? Right? ठीक है. और क्या इधर सेक्टर्स में और क्या सेक्टर काउंट कर सकते हैं? हाँ? Yes, that also integration of आयुष हेल्थ सेक्टर में, राइट? हेल्थ सेक्टर एक बनाकर उधर रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग आयुष का एजुकेशन, यस, आयुर्वेदा, यूनानी एंड ऑल, राइट? मुझे लगता है गवर्नमेंट आयुर्वेदा के कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट यूनानी इज ऑल्सो देयर विद दैट, सो गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट वेरी एंथुजियास्टिक ऑन प्रमोटिंग आयुष एजुकेशन, यू नो. एनीवेज, खैर कंपल्सन होता है पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज का अपना. एनीवेज, राइट? सो दीज आर द लाइन्स वेयर यू विल डिस्क्राइब सम फैक्ट आपको पता है, आपको फैक्ट आता है ना, इंडिया बुक, योजना, न्यूज़पेपर, आपका नोट्स, फैक्ट उधर है, एनालिसिस, सजेशन, बट यू विल काउंट ऑन इन सच टॉपिक्स यू कैन टेक कॉम्पिटिटिव एज, राइट, सम कॉम्पिटिटिव एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स only on the basis of writing, novel dimensions, ठीक है ना. So you write about tribal education, minority education, women's education, isn't it? Reflect your concern about, dropout of adolescent girls. The second highest dropout is of adolescent girls in education after scheduled caste. Highest dropout is of scheduled castes, right? Second highest is adolescent girls. Tribals ka enrollment is very less, isn't it? So dropout is lesser than scheduled caste and adolescent girls, isn't it? Right? So restructuring का बात करेंगे तो it should be made, suitable, isn't it? जैसे one example of restructuring, like to minimize dropout, Sabla scheme was initiated, right? That was further restructured, reorganized in Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao, isn't it? Where incentive is given for enrollment as well as continuation of education. Getting your point? Where extra facilities are given, like in Sabla scheme, adolescent girls used to take the children at Sabla centers, Anganwadi centers, and there their siblings were taken care of by Anganwadi officials, and they were free for education for the day. Getting your point, right? So such restructuring is needed as per the structural realities. Getting your point? Structural reality जो है वो rural का, urban का, caste का, class का, tribe, minorities, ये सब different है, isn't it? Right? So taking into account, you have to give suggestions content के level पे, content, then educational institutions, isn't it, and accessibility. Major three dimension you have to. ठीक है. Apart from this, आपके मन में आ रहा होगा कि सर कितना reports को refer करना है, कितना वो. Look, to authenticate and to validate your point, you can refer to Kothari Commission, right? कोठारी कमीशन का रिपोर्ट, एंड देन एक और इम्पोर्टेंट आया था ना, कोठारी कमीशन, सुब्रमण्यम कमेटी रिपोर्ट ऑल्सो, राइट? सम लाइक फाइव लाइन्स ओनली. ठीक है. सुब्रमण्यम, TR सुब्रमण्यन कमेटी रिपोर्ट, TSR सुब्रमण्यन, राइट? You can also highlight to validate, like why restructuring needed. You can refer to Pratham's report also, राइट, प्राथम्स रिपोर्ट, ये जीएस में आप पढ़ते हैं, प्राथम रिपोर्ट को भी आप रेफर कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। एंड नाउ द न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, ठीक है ना, उसके ऊपर अपना ओपिनियन सजेशन दे सकते हैं, न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी।
The three language debate, like new education policy. So we can like ponder upon that also.
Yes, yes, yes.
To inculcate the diversity, all three language should
Three
be.
language. The aspects which are highly debated उसको avoid भी कर देंगे, ठीक है ना, because that may not be right. Means making two language compulsory for all, right, and one vernacular language, isn't it? Right. But yes, that may not be accepted also by the states, isn't it? Okay, okay.
So spending part is spending a part of the structure. So there has been a debate going on that there should be at least 6% that should be spent on
For restructuring education, right, you can suggestions में you can give suggestion. Keep yourself, to the basics, because you are going to enter at administrative level, executive level पे, administrative level पे, right? So you should not give, very higher level suggestions, at policy level. हमेशा याद रखिएगा, ठीक है ना? If you give some suggestion on policy level, you must cite, some valid report, isn't it, committee's recommendation, isn't it? Otherwise that becomes, fantastic, romantic, right? जैसे opening up of foreign universities will solve the problem, not necessary, because the problem is with basic education, right? Problem is with, like intermediary level, like higher secondary education, higher secondary education, right? Accessibility का problem, affordability का problem is there, isn't it? Availability का problem is there. Like dropout rate is high, isn't it, because of poverty, right, among scheduled castes. Direct cause is poverty, isn't it? Family household poverty, dropout rate is high. Household burden may, like adolescent girls also dropouts, and poors, be that, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or others, right, landless communities, ठीक है. So वहाँ पे इन points के ऊपर आपका session आना चाहिए, isn't it? Then opening up of, because private universities certainly will be driven by profit motive, isn't it? And in our society, this is, a state's education is a state's responsibility. Private parties will not invest money in. So when you are writing, private capital infusion, to at higher level, at research level, getting a point, उधर बात करेंगे, ठीक है ना, research level के ऊपर, ठीक है. Okay. So these are, some line of thought, some points to think in main body, ठीक है. Attendance mandatory, right? Compulsory, 75% और कुछ ऐसा कर सकते हैं, suggestion दे सकते हैं इसमें. You give suggestion, like those suggestions which are, observable and like basic. So attendance is one problem, right? Lack of teachers, other problem, right? Look, देखिए, schools are not there. If schools are there, teachers are not there. If teachers are there, properly trained teachers are not there. Shiksha mitras are there. Getting a point, right? Lack of, sensitization among teachers, because there are reports of discrimination, right? Ki children belonging to scheduled castes provided meal in separate, like queue, and other castes, isn't it? Right? So here comes, sensitization. Educating the teachers by heart is important, right? For educating, not only educating the minds of the teachers, or not only educating the minds of the students, isn't it? Right. So on these levels, you have to give suggestions, restructuring ka in all these sectors, right? Observe the basic problem like content, availability, right? Institutions ka availability, affordability, right? Accessibility, right? So in सब basic issues you have to raise in different sectors अपने analysis में. बहुत high funda चीज बात नहीं करना है, right? Romantic fantastic sessions will not be there. ठीक है ना? Okay. एक और topic, let us brainstorm. If the topic is live as if you will die tomorrow, learn as if you will live forever. Live as if you will die tomorrow. Learn as if you will live forever. Just think 5 minutes, 5 minutes सोचिए इस पे. Live as if you will die tomorrow. Just 5 minutes. Your line of thought. Learn as if you will live forever. स्टेटमेंट इसका अपोजिट भी आ सकता है, राइट? लर्न एज इफ यू विल लिव फॉर एवर, लिव एज इफ यू विल डाई टुमारो. Yes, so there are two dimensions, right? Live as if you will die tomorrow, learn as if you will live forever, right? First dimension indicates living life with passion and action, right? Second dimension, lifelong learning. ठीक है? So to start with, on time scale, कहाँ से शुरू करेंगे time scale में? हाँ? Reference of personalities, choice is yours, ठीक है ना? Reference of personalities, right? For example, ठीक है, जैसे आपने बुद्धा का एग्जाम्पल दिया, मेरे दिमाग में अभी सोच रहा था, मैं तो गांधी के बारे में सोच रहा था, राइट? आई वाज थिंकिंग अबाउट गांधी, राइट? पर्सनालिटीज लाइक गांधी, ठीक है ना? सो अब बुद्धा ऑल्सो, बुद्धा, महावीर, जैना, सभी, मतलब चॉइस इज योर्स, ठीक है ना? जैसे उन्हीं का एग्जाम्पल अगर लेते हो मैं, तो लिविंग लाइफ विथ फुल पैशन एंड एक्शन, राइट? तो अब देखिए कि डिफरेंट फेजेज ऑफ हिज लाइफ, राइट, बुद्धा kept on meditating, isn't it? Problems, observation of the problems, solution through meditation, preachings, isn't it? Right? And lifelong learning, isn't it? Like, was his preachings summed up in one session, or that was throughout the life, continued for life? Different stages आता है ना महात्मा बुद्धा की लाइफ में, राइट? हिस्ट्री में आपने पढ़ा होगा. So living life with passion and action, isn't it? And lifelong learning, ठीक है ना? Like Mahatma Gandhi's, if you refer, Gandhi's personality, so in his life also you will find, right, life with passion and action, isn't it? Action and lifelong learning from the situation, emergent situation, like non-cooperation movement, then stopped, civil disobedience movement stopped, quit India movement, isn't it? Then constructive works, right? Like abolition of untouchability, reforms for abolition of untouchability, isn't it? And other constructive works, right? I mean, in abolition of social evils also he, right, was involved. So on temporal scale, give example of some personalities, isn't it? You can refer to international, I mean, from like, you can give example of who abolished slavery, Abraham Lincoln, isn't it? Right. So you can give his reference also, his example also. और क्या बोल रहे थे आप? हाँ? Socrates का example you can give, right? Socrates का example, ठीक है ना?
Nelson Mandela, like despite being in jail.
Nelson Mandela's example also, best suitable example. Mandela's का example you can give here, right? So start with reference. ऐसा statement आता है ना तो stuck नहीं होना है, ठीक है ना? Just APJ Abdul Kalam. Start with some reference of the personality. Choice is yours. You can take personalities for ancient to medieval to modern. Mahatma Gandhi ji, or post modern actually, post independence also, APJ Abdul Kalam. Example you can give to start with. Then like please note down कुछ points मैं आपको dictate कर रहा हूँ. Living life, जैसे living life with passion and action. Live as if you will die tomorrow. So here try to think like live life with right understanding. Live as if you will die tomorrow. So live life with right understanding. Please note down. Live life with passion and compassion, affection, live life with right thought, right intention, right resolve. Live life with right action. Live life with right livelihood. Right effort and endeavor. Live life with right mindfulness. Live life with right focus on goal, right concentration on goal, right, and apply these. इतना 5-6 कितना पॉइंट हुआ? Apply all these as per suitability in, for example, family sphere में, right? What kind of life you should live in family? You should live life with right understanding with the members, isn't it? Right livelihood. You cannot delay, for tomorrow, right? This indicates, urgency. Living life with passion and action, isn't it? In your action, you should be right. You should reflect, right understanding, right intention, right resolve. If you not, then problems. Getting your point? Getting your point or not? Right? If you fail to reflect on compassion, affection, right? Like if there is lack of compassion, affection between children and parents, between the parents, isn't it? So क्या होगा? Family में problem, instability, isn't it? So it is rightly said that live life as if you will die tomorrow, isn't it? Live life with full compassion, isn't it? Right? उसको delay नहीं कर सकते. We cannot delay actually. If you will delay, then problem will happen. Getting your point or not? Right? This indicates urgency, passion, action. So different sectors में you have to refer these points. जैसे economic sector में you can refer to Ratan Tata, right? Tatas. You can refer to Malia. Getting your point, right? You can refer to learning, lifelong learning. In fact, this also economic sector में like right intention, right resolve reflected in personality of Ratan Tata, isn't it? And wrong intention, wrong resolve, Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. Getting your point or not? Right? अब ये तो फिलोसफिकल टॉपिक है ना, इधर आपको सब्सटेंशिएट करना है. आपने कहा कि लिव लाइफ एज इफ यू विल डाई टुमारो. उसमें आपने डिस्क्राइब कर दिया कि लिव लाइफ विथ राइट इंटेंशन, राइट रिजॉल्व, राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग, कंपैशन, इजंट इट? ये सब आपने लिख दिया. उसके बाद यू विल इन डिफरेंट पैराग्राफ्स taking one example from economic sphere, one example from political sphere, one example from, right? You will relate with these, features which you have pointed out for the first dimension. Getting your point? ये 5-6 जो features आपने describe किया है ना, you have to relate with, different examples in different spheres. Getting your point, right? Okay. Then describe some points. Learn as if you will live forever, right? So learning for educating others. कैसा learning? Learning which educates others. Learning for entrepreneurship and enterprise. Learning कैसा learning? तो learning for entrepreneurship and enterprise. अगर if your learning is for entrepreneurship and enterprise, isn't it? Then you will be remembered for ever. Getting your point or not? समझ रहे हैं ना इसको? जैसे आप you can refer to industrialist, not businessman. Industrialist, isn't it? जिसने establish किया, ठीक है ना? मैं मानता हूँ कि टाटा is industrialist, अडानी is a businessman. Getting your point? आपने कभी ऐसा सुना कि टाटाज लाइक सिंगूर का एक एक्सेप्शन था, राइट? और उसमें भी लाइक ही वाज बेसिकली सब्जेक्टेड टू पॉलिटिक्स. अदरवाइज वी हैव नॉट heard yet कि Tatas are involved in displacement of lakhs of tribals, like Vedanta wala at Niamgiri Hills, as they did. Getting your point or not? Right?
This is what I said. This is what I feel.
हाँ
इसमें इसने खुद का इंस्टीट्यूशन टेस्ट
हाँ.
इसमें तो उन्होंने बहुत फीस बढ़ाई सर.
लेकिन बहुत चैरिटी किया टिस ने. अभी भी आप देखो तो न्यूट्रिशन मिशन में टाटा इज स्पेंडिंग गिविंग that TIS is giving 60,000 monthly, right, to the person. 60,000 का 60 to 68,000 ये सैलरी दे रहे हैं to the people who are spreading awareness about nutrition, isn't it? अभी स्पेशल एक वैकेंसी भी आया था जिसमें कि all those who had written prelims mains examination they were recruited through interview, right? और टाटा के स्पेंडिंग है वो सारा, उसमें गवर्नमेंट का कुछ नहीं, गवर्नमेंट से उसको उसके मिल भी नहीं रहा है कुछ वो, ठीक है ना? तो बहुत सारे चैरिटी का काम करते हैं, ठीक है? दे आर नॉट इंडल्ज जनरली इन मैल प्रैक्टिसेस डिस्पाइट लॉस फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट. टाटा कंटिन्यूड विद देयर मोटर का बिजनेस डिस्पाइट लॉसेस फॉर लास्ट मेनी ईयर्स, राइट? सो कंसर्न वाज एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन. खैर एनीवेज, खैर वो व्हाट आई मीन टू से कि हियर लर्निंग, कैसा लर्निंग फॉर enterprise and entrepreneurship. If your learning is for enterprise and entrepreneurship, you will be remembered forever, right? You can give example. Who established Apple? Steve Jobs, isn't it? So आज भी उनका टेक गैजेट्स में, right? He established milestone, isn't it? And we learn, we get motivated, isn't it? From such personalities, isn't it? Okay. Further, you can say learning for leadership. Learning for leadership. Learn as if you live forever. So कैसा learn? Leadership, right? Leadership. Learning for
Innovation.
yes, innovation also. Innovation, right? Learning for peace, order, sustainability, solidarity. Learning for peace, order, solidarity. Satyagrah, non-violence, right? We celebrate International Non-Violence Day, right? Not International Dictatorship Day. Hitler, Mussolini, उनको अपन celebrate नहीं करते हैं, isn't it? Getting a point. और the function of this purpose of such celebration is to educate people, right? Debate, discussion, ये सब होते हैं ना नॉन वायलेंस डे के ऊपर, isn't it? Right? So वैसा लर्निंग होना चाहिए ना, right? Which learning for peace, solidarity, non-violence, etc. Right? Further, learning for social sustainability. Learning for social sustainability. This means कि learning कैसा? Social sustainability depends on mutual coexistence, isn't it? And solidarity. Mutual coexistence and solidarity. If there is caste conflict, if there is tensions, communal tensions, isn't it? Ethnic conflict, then society will not survive. Social sustainability is threatened, isn't it? Right. Learning for economic sustainability, learning for environmental sustainability, isn't it? Then only we will be able to leave something for our future generation. Getting your point or not? वैसा learning होना चाहिए ना कि your future generation also remembers you, isn't it? Refer you. Getting your point? So these points also we will, right? Learning for adjustment, cooperation and coordination. Adjustment, cooperation and coordination. This is very important for successful administration, success of administration, success of federal structure, right? Some basic learning to respect the senior citizens, learning to respect the senior citizens, learning for आजकल क्या चल रहा है, स्वच्छता, learning for cleanliness, sanitation, good life habits. Learn as if you will live forever. Learning for cleanliness, sanitation, good life habits. Right? Give maximum possible, reference living life with full passion and action. Give examples of Bill Gates. बिल गेट्स अगर सोचा होता कि मैं पहले ग्रेजुएट करूँगा, देन आई विल डू माई रिसर्च, देन आई विल एस्टेब्लिश माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, तो माइक्रोसॉफ्ट आज गेटिंग योर पॉइंट, या मार्क जुकनबर्ग, राइट? पैशन, एक्शन, urgency, understanding the need of the hour, getting a point, right? So you have to refer to the personalities. ये सब थीसिस स्टेटमेंट ऐसे अपन जनरेट करते हैं, थीसिस स्टेटमेंट, isn't it? इसके लिए you will not get any model hint for such topics. Getting your point? You will divide broadly 2 parts, generate some thesis, apply in some sector with the references. This treatment you have to do, right? Yes.
So then when I write a model and refer to the culture of PGI at the time of its Friday, how to avoid that culture and enjoy all the enjoying the work every day that we do and not die 5 days and live 2 days. The MNC culture that's going on currently.
You can give
Can we
like
give that
refer.
for us?
Yes. लिख सकते हैं, ठीक है ना? So on this line, please, for tomorrow, this is your assignment. I have given you broad contours, right? Live as if you will die tomorrow. Learn as if you will live forever. This is Gandhi's statement, in fact, right? इस बार गांधी जी से बहुत चांसेस है टॉपिक्स आने के, right? So we will discuss some. ठीक है, okay. हाँ, प्लीज सबमिट. आज देखूंगा मैं असाइनमेंट, आज मेरा इवोल्यूशन का डे है, ठीक है ना? नाउ योर क्लास विल बी Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 3 days I will conduct. Wednesday, tomorrow there is no class. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. ठीक है ना? Tomorrow write your assignment, submit. ठीक है? Okay.